Ever wonder what happens when car features don't quite hit the mark? Here are the 15 failed car features you won't believe. We uncover innovations that seemed brilliant but flopped spectacularly. From talking cars to pop-up headlights, these features promised to revolutionize driving, but ended up in the dustbin of automotive history. Seatbelt interlock system. The seatbelt interlock system was a feature introduced in the 1970s to improve car safety. This system prevented the car from starting unless the driver and front seat passenger had their seatbelts fastened. The idea was to encourage everyone to wear their seatbelts and reduce injuries and accidents. However, people found this feature very annoying. Imagine sitting in your car, ready to go, but the car won't start because you forgot to buckle up. Many drivers found this frustrating, especially when they were in a hurry. Some even tried to trick the system by fastening the seatbelt behind them or sitting on it, which defeated the purpose of the feature. The seatbelt interlock system was also problematic because it was sometimes too sensitive. It would fail to recognize when the seatbelt was properly fastened, causing more frustration for drivers. Due to the overwhelming negative feedback, the government decided to stop requiring this system in new cars by the mid-1970s. Automatic seatbelts. Automatic seatbelts were an attempt to make cars safer by ensuring everyone buckled up without thinking about it. Introduced in the 1980s, these seatbelts were attached to the car door and automatically slid into place when the door was closed and the car was started. At first, it seemed like a brilliant idea. Drivers and passengers didn't have to remember to buckle up, as the seatbelt did it for them. But soon, people realized there were several problems with this feature. Firstly, the automatic seatbelts were often uncomfortable. They could be too tight or awkwardly positioned, making it unpleasant for people to wear them. Sometimes, they would catch clothing or hair, causing pain or irritation. Additionally, they were not always reliable. If the system malfunctioned, the seatbelt might not secure properly, which defeated the safety purpose. Another major issue was that automatic seatbelts only secured the upper body. Many people would forget to manually fasten the lap belt, which is crucial for full protection. This oversight actually increased the risk of injury in some accidents. Exploding airbags. Exploding airbags might sound like something out of an action movie, but they were a real and dangerous issue in some cars. Airbags are designed to inflate quickly during a crash to protect the driver and passengers. However, some early models had serious problems. In the early 2000s, certain airbags were found to inflate with too much force. Instead of cushioning the impact, they exploded, causing pieces of metal to fly out. This could lead to serious injuries or even death. The problem was traced back to a company called Takata, which supplied airbags to many car manufacturers. The defect was caused by the chemicals used to inflate the airbags. Over time, these chemicals could become unstable, especially in hot and humid conditions. When the airbag deployed, the force was too strong, and the metal casing around the airbag would break apart. This issue led to the largest car recall in history. Millions of cars from different brands had to be recalled to replace the faulty airbags. It was a costly and time-consuming process, but it was necessary to ensure the safety of drivers and passengers. Early voice command systems. Early voice command systems in cars were an attempt to make driving more convenient and hands-free. Introduced in the late 1990s and early 2000s, these systems allowed drivers to control various car functions using their voice, such as adjusting the radio, making phone calls, or setting the navigation. While the idea was great, the technology of the time wasn't advanced enough to make it work well. These early systems often struggled to understand spoken commands, especially if the driver had an accent, spoke too quickly, or there was background noise. Imagine trying to tell your car to play music, and it repeatedly responds with "command not recognized." It quickly became frustrating. Due to these problems, many drivers found the early voice command systems more annoying than helpful. They would often give up and use the manual controls instead. As a result, these systems didn't become very popular. Automatic headlights. Automatic headlights were designed to turn on when it got dark and off when it was bright, aiming to improve safety and convenience. Introduced in the 1990s, this feature seemed useful but often proved unreliable. Early systems struggled with detecting lighting conditions accurately. They might turn on during a cloudy day when not needed or fail to activate at dusk, leaving drivers without proper illumination. This inconsistency frustrated many drivers, who frequently had to override the system manually. Another problem was sensitivity. Some systems would react to artificial lights, like street lights or passing cars, causing headlights to flicker on and off. This created distractions and potential safety hazards. Additionally, if these systems malfunctioned, they could drain the car's battery by staying on after the car was turned off, leaving drivers stranded with a dead battery. Due to these issues, many drivers preferred manually controlling their headlights. Over time, the technology improved, and modern automatic headlights are much more reliable, using advanced sensors to adjust accurately to lighting conditions. Today, this feature is widely appreciated for its convenience and safety benefits. Self-parking systems. Self-parking systems were introduced to make parking easier by allowing cars to park themselves with minimal driver input. The idea was to take the stress out of parallel parking in tight spots. However, the early versions of this technology, introduced in the mid-2000s, had many problems. First, these systems were often inaccurate. They struggled to measure the space correctly and sometimes tried to fit the car into spots that were too small. This led to incomplete or awkward parking attempts, requiring drivers to take over and finish the job. Secondly, early self-parking systems were very slow. The process of detecting the space, aligning the car, and maneuvering into the spot took much longer than it would for an experienced driver to park manually. This was frustrating, especially in busy areas where other drivers were waiting. As a result, early self-parking systems were not widely adopted. Over time, improvements in sensor technology and software have made modern self-parking systems much more accurate and user-friendly. Today, they are becoming a standard feature in many new cars, offering reliable assistance with parking. In-car record players. In-car record players were a novel idea introduced in the 1950s to bring the joy of home music to the road. These record players were designed to let drivers and passengers listen to their favorite vinyl records while traveling. However, this feature quickly ran into several significant problems. Firstly, cars are not stationary environments. The movement of the car, especially on bumpy roads, caused the needle to skip and jump across the record, making it impossible to enjoy the music. Even the smallest bump could ruin the listening experience. Secondly, the space inside cars is limited. The record players were bulky and took up valuable space, making them impractical for everyday use. Additionally, the records themselves were fragile and could easily be damaged by the constant vibrations and movements of the car. Another issue was the complexity of using the record players. Drivers had to focus on the road and couldn't safely manage changing records or handling the delicate equipment while driving. Car phones were introduced in the 1980s as a cutting-edge feature that allowed drivers to make and receive phone calls while on the road. This technology seemed revolutionary at the time, providing a level of connectivity that had never been possible before. However, several issues quickly became apparent. Firstly, car phones were extremely expensive. The cost of installing a car phone was high, and the call charges were even higher. This made them a luxury item that only a few could afford. Secondly, the technology was bulky and cumbersome. Car phones required large wired units that took up significant space inside the vehicle. The handsets were often mounted to the dashboard or console, limiting their convenience and ease of use. Another major problem was the limited network coverage. Early car phones relied on analog signals, which provided poor reception and frequent dropped calls, especially in rural or remote areas. This made them unreliable for consistent communication. Rear seat TVs. Rear seat TVs were introduced in the 1990s as a way to keep passengers entertained during long car trips. The idea was to provide in-car entertainment, especially for children, by allowing them to watch movies or play video games on small screens mounted in the back of the front seats. However, these early versions faced numerous problems. Firstly, the screens were often small and had poor picture quality. This made watching movies or playing games less enjoyable compared to the experience at home. The technology of the time simply couldn't provide a high-quality viewing experience in a moving vehicle. Secondly, the systems were very expensive. Installing rear seat TVs added a significant cost to the vehicle, making this feature accessible only to those willing to spend a lot of extra money. Additionally, the setup often required bulky equipment and wiring, taking up valuable space in the car. Another issue was reliability. The vibrations and movements of the car could cause the systems to malfunction or break easily. This led to frequent repairs and replacements, adding to the cost and inconvenience for car owners. Turbochargers in the 1980s. Turbochargers, designed to boost engine power by forcing extra air into the combustion chamber, were hailed as a performance-enhancing feature in the 1980s. They promised to deliver more horsepower and better fuel efficiency, making cars faster and more powerful. However, early turbochargers faced significant issues that led to their downfall. Firstly, reliability was a major concern. Early turbochargers were prone to mechanical failures due to the high heat and pressure they generated. They often required frequent maintenance and repairs, which were costly and inconvenient for car owners. Secondly, turbo lag was a common problem. Turbo lag is the delay between pressing the accelerator and the turbocharger delivering extra power. This made driving unpredictable and less enjoyable, especially for those expecting immediate acceleration. Another issue was fuel efficiency. While turbochargers were marketed as improving fuel economy, in practice they often did the opposite. Many drivers found that the increased power led to more aggressive driving, which in turn reduced fuel efficiency. Rotary engines. Rotary engines, also known as Gull-Wing engines, were an innovative design introduced in the 1960s. Unlike traditional piston engines, rotary engines used a rotating triangular rotor to create power. This unique design promised smooth operation, high power output, and fewer moving parts. However, several significant issues led to their decline. Firstly, rotary engines were notoriously inefficient. They consumed more fuel than conventional engines and had higher emissions, making them less environmentally friendly. This inefficiency was a major drawback, especially during fuel crises, when fuel economy became a top priority for consumers and manufacturers. Secondly, reliability was a major problem. Rotary engines were prone to seal wear and tear, which led to frequent maintenance issues and reduced engine lifespan. The apex seals, which are crucial for maintaining compression, often wore out quickly, leading to loss of power and efficiency. Pop-up headlights. Pop-up headlights were a popular design feature in the 1970s and 1980s, giving cars a sleek and futuristic look. These headlights would retract into the car's body when not in use, improving aerodynamics and aesthetics. Despite their initial popularity, several issues led to their decline. Firstly, pop-up headlights were prone to mechanical failures. The motors and mechanisms that controlled the headlights were complex and often unreliable. They could get stuck in the open or closed position, leaving drivers with one or both headlights malfunctioning, which was both a safety hazard and an inconvenience. Secondly, they were expensive to repair. The specialized parts and labor needed to fix pop-up headlights made repairs costly. For many car owners, the expense and hassle outweighed the visual appeal of the feature. Another issue was aerodynamics. While pop-up headlights improved the sleek look of a car when retracted, they created significant drag when raised. This negatively impacted fuel efficiency and performance, which became a concern as fuel economy gained importance in the automotive industry. Due to these problems, car manufacturers phased out pop-up headlights in favor of simpler, more reliable designs. Gull-Wing Doors. Gull-Wing doors, which open upward like the wings of a seagull, were introduced to the public with a futuristic appeal in cars like the iconic DeLorean DMC-12. They were designed to make a striking visual statement and provide easier access in tight parking spaces. However, several practical issues led to their decline. Firstly, Gull-Wing doors were mechanically complex. The hinges and gas struts required to lift the heavy doors upward were prone to wear and failure. If the mechanism failed, the doors could become stuck, leaving passengers unable to enter or exit the vehicle. Secondly, these doors posed safety concerns. In the event of a rollover accident, Gull-Wing doors could become impossible to open, trapping occupants inside the car. This serious safety risk made them less appealing to both manufacturers and consumers. Due to these issues, Gull-Wing doors fell out of favor. While they remain an iconic and eye-catching feature on a few select models, most modern cars favor more conventional door designs that offer greater reliability, safety, and practicality. Four-wheel steering. Four-wheel steering, 4WS, was introduced in the late 1980s and early 1990s as an innovative feature aimed at improving vehicle handling and maneuverability. This system allowed the rear wheels to turn in conjunction with the front wheels, providing better stability at high speeds and making tight turns easier at low speeds. However, several drawbacks led to its decline. Firstly, the complexity of the system made it prone to mechanical issues. Four-wheel steering systems required intricate components and electronics to function properly. This complexity increased the likelihood of malfunctions, leading to higher maintenance and repair costs for car owners. Secondly, the benefits of four-wheel steering were not always noticeable in everyday driving. While the feature provided advantages in specific situations, such as high-speed lane changes or navigating tight spaces, most drivers did not experience significant improvements in their daily commutes. This made the feature seem unnecessary and not worth the additional cost. As a result, four-wheel steering was gradually phased out in favor of more cost-effective and reliable technologies. Today, while some high-performance and luxury cars still offer advanced versions of four-wheel steering, it is no longer a common feature in mainstream vehicles. Talking cars. In the 1980s, some car manufacturers introduced talking cars as a high-tech feature. These cars could speak to drivers, providing alerts such as doors ajar or low fuel. The idea was to enhance safety and convenience by giving drivers important information verbally. However, this feature quickly fell out of favor due to several issues. Firstly, the voice alerts often became more annoying than helpful. Hearing a robotic voice repeatedly reminding you about an open door or low fuel could be irritating, especially if the message played multiple times. Many drivers found the constant reminders distracting rather than useful. Secondly, the technology was limited and inflexible. The voice systems could only provide a set number of pre-programmed messages, making them unable to adapt to new situations or provide more detailed information. This limitation made the feature feel less innovative and more like a gimmick. Another problem was the reliability of the systems. Early voice modules were prone to malfunctions, resulting in incorrect or unnecessary alerts. For example, a sensor malfunction could cause the car to repeatedly say that a door was ajar when it was securely closed. This not only annoyed drivers, but also undermined their trust in the system. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about these surprising car feature flops, please like, share, and comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating automotive stories and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.